So I welcome all of you to this roundtable discussion organized by the Economic Times in association with MongoDB and Google Cloud. My name is Muqbil Ahmer. I am the executive editor at ETCIO and the host for this session. First of all, I hope all of you are doing well. The fourth wave or whatever is there, I mean, it continues to linger and create ripples. But more than that, I would want to express my gratitude for being here on a weekday, and braving Bangalore's very tricky traffic. So I'm really very thankful to all of you for that. Now, coming to the topic for today's discussion, which is on modernizing your data platform for new age applications. So before we begin with a systematic round of discussions, I would really want to, kind of set up the stage, lay down the context for this discussion before we move ahead. Now we see that digital transformation has really accelerated, is accelerating. Particularly this acceleration has been rampant during the pandemic times when digital was the way to go about it. This has resulted even before, I think, it resulted in a lot of generation or an explosion of data. Data really increased exponentially. Now, many people talk about it out and they say that data is the new oil, by which they mean that the ability of enterprises to stay competitive in a post-pandemic world rests largely on their capacity or their ability to leverage this data. Particularly very critical aspects, for example, customer experience, user expectations, or new age applications, they all need a very sound, a very robust data platform and foundation. And this is what we are going to discuss today, that on how enterprises really need that modern data platform, which not only processes and stores, but also keeps up with this diversity of data that we see generated very rapidly. Without much ado, let me take this opportunity to also introduce the guest speakers from MongoDB and Google Cloud. Aditya Nanda, Regional VP MongoDB, is amongst us. Please welcome him. Sandeep Kashyap, Head of Emerging Startups, Google Cloud. I would, before moving ahead, I would request Aditya to share his thoughts on the subject.
Thanks a lot, Muqbil. Pleasure to be here, and thanks to all of you for coming in. Before I start laying the context, I wanted to just, start the discussion with the point of view that today, each organization that we talk to is slowly and steadily becoming a software company, right? And the heart of it is data. Why are organizations doing this? So the organizations or the emerging startups or even the traditional organizations are doing this to get a competitive edge, accelerate their time to value to the market, and reduce the risk that they pose from competition, microeconomics, macroeconomics factor, right? And how do these organizations do this is using data, right? While the organizations are on the journey of digital transformation, they often face two biggest barriers, which is of scale and complexity, right? And the trigger point to overcome these barriers is essentially selecting the right data platform, right? Now, this data platform is not just one technology, but a conglomerate of all those technologies coming together and serving the needs of that organization so that they in turn can serve the needs of their end customers, right? As Muqbil rightly mentioned, that data is the new oil. So it's imperative that the organizations from the get-go learn how to leverage this new oil, right? How things are shaping up and how the markets are adapting, right? We have been hearing a lot of things for different sectors, right? For example, I was speaking to a few of the CTOs who are in the blockchain space, and they were talking about how the crypto winter is coming in and what they are doing to overcome that. Right now, if you look at it, blockchain had taken a spike just last 6 months, 12 months, it was an all-time high. And while it is going through a trough, the organizations are now enabling themselves to leverage data to overcome this. This is not limited to any sort of industry, and COVID taught us all those things, right? When it triggered in 2020, it was a big question in front of organizations that how do we now revamp our business or rethink our business? And if you have got a strong and a resilient data platform underneath it, it will help you do that in a matter of time, right? Now, and today we would want to get your thoughts on how do you think about a modern data platform, right? What in your ideal world is a modern data platform? For me, the modern data platform, from my point of view, is not a data platform that just computes, processes, or stores data, right? It's more adaptive in nature. It can handle diversity. It can handle flexibility of data. And at the same time, it helps you make sense of all that data that you get together, right? With this, I'll pass this back to Ugvil to kickstart the discussion.
Yes. Thank you, Aditya. And this brings me back to a very important point that he made, and which was also said by, one of the, I would say, a very renowned technology figure. Forbes once said that, every company of tomorrow will be a technology company. I feel that tomorrow has actually come today. And I see how, all companies are trying to be competitive, and in trying to do so, they are trying to do it through digital means. Now we will go into a systematic round of discussions, and we will, have one round starting from my right. So, Mr. Ram, the first thing for which I want to come to you, which I've also alluded to before in my talk, is that how this entire digital agenda has accelerated and how new age applications are critical to it. Now, in all this, schema of things, what do you think is the role that data can play in the digital transformation journey of organizations?
So the role of data in the digital transformation is very critical in the sense that traditionally, when you say a digital transformation, previously data is actually siloed across multiple functions within an org, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is information tech, communication, whatever it is. Data is siloed across different parts of different departments, functions, whatever you call it. Marketing has a specific data for profiling, for targeting. Sales has a different set of data. Operations are however it is. Everyone worked with their own specific data silos. And when you say a digital transformation, I would visualize it as a convergence of synergies across multiple functions within a particular org, where a unified experience, right from the marketing campaigns or reach outs, now everything is all these campaigns, right? From there to actual transaction, a proper sales conversion, from there to a service delivery, right? Service delivery, when a person, it could be the data across when the person first visited the campaign to how he or she is using your app, across that, and what is the specifics they are looking into. All of these data needs to be in a single platform, or at least even if the data are siloed, the data or the inferences that needs to be derived out of this data needs to be built out of a single platform for a unified experience. So that, in my mind, is what would be a digital transformation and the role of a data.
Very interesting points coming from Ram. I would also request you to introduce yourself to the audience here.
Sure. My name is Ram, and I head the engineering for Untitled Technologies. We do travel, corporate, our business travel and expense management SaaS platform. We are a SaaS platform. And before Untitled, I was part of a company called Zarget, which is now part of Freshworks. I have about 18 years of experience, previously part of multiple organizations, PayPal, Hinduja Groups for some time. Yeah.
Thank you. So Ram made a very pertinent point about the prevalence of data silos within organizations, which is what is one of the bottlenecks that enterprises face today, as they try to leverage that data. Now, going on to the next participant, Ashutosh, it would be great if you could just introduce yourself and then share your thoughts on this subject.
Okay, hope I am audible. Myself, Ashutosh. I work with boat technology, boat lifestyle.
Yes, both.
And this is my 7th or 8th day in Bangalore. I joined recently.
7th or 8th day.
Yeah,
Amazing. Congratulations.
thank you. So before working with boat, I was working with Alsha Group in UAE and Asian Paints in Mumbai.
Excellent.
Yeah. Coming to your question, to adapt to the changes quickly, to create new business models, or to be customer centric. At the same time, you need to attract new customers. You need to be digitally equipped, and digital transformation is not about moving from offline to online, or just upgrading your technical stacks. It is more about using advanced technology platforms or modern tools to create flexible, robust, secure and informed business which is customer centric and which can respond to the changing market dynamics very quick manner. So this digital transformation can only happen if it is strongly backed by a data strategy, which will help us to deliver a very good customer experience, to take care of our own people, the stakeholders like suppliers, transporters and third-party vendors, and it will help us to optimize our business processes.
Right. Excellent points coming from you. Now, Harsh Vardhan. So Harsh, I would want to go to you for my next question, which is about, so we have spoken about the criticality of data vis-a-vis digital transformation journey of organizations. How do you see it, impacting very granular things, for example, productivity and all of that, insights?
Okay, hi. Thanks, Mukbil, for the question, and hi, everybody. Myself, Harsha, I am from Cashfree. I'm one of the senior directors of engineering in Cashfree. And when you say data, a lot of thoughts come in my mind. But to summarize, I would say we as a company are trying to democratize data, and this is really important when I say that. Because with the moment you say democratize data, you also have to take care of the fact that the data that you are talking about, it is with you, but probably it is not yours, right? So while you democratize the data, you have to make sure that you are honoring the the PII protection and all the certifications that you have obtained as a fintech industry, be it Cashfree, like ISO and PCI and all of it. And hence this problem becomes really interesting problem to solve. And being engineering, I'm really finding it really challenging and interesting. So from the standpoint of the question that you said, I see it should be available when you need it and how you need it, whether you need it real time or you need it form of a report, you want to run ad hoc queries or you want to run pre-decided queries. Now, point is, same size doesn't fit all.
True.
And yet you want to build a system which is behaving like a lake. But the moment we use the word lake, we refer to the older system data lake. But again, it doesn't work today, and for us it doesn't work because when you talk about the transactions, the state of the transaction is changing real time. Hence the queries and the responses would also change accordingly. So we have to talk about data lake. So now when I look at all the problems, I think of all these solutions. Like I will think about data lake, then I will talk about data lake, then I'll talk about near real-time searches with Elasticsearch, then I'll talk about Spark systems, then I would want to talk about our risk platform, which is analyzing the transactions in real time. And also I would want to talk about reporting system, which is generating big reports every day. So eventually, if you think about it, it becomes an organically grown system where things are plugged in pieces and pieces. And probably again, it will become non-maintainable. So yeah, that I think the challenge here is to think about it thoroughly for next 2 years strategy of the company, or maybe more if you can think. And then finding the basic bricks of it, like what would you want and what is your expectation out of it in terms of the response time, the real-time queries, the risk platform, and ensuring your customer data is protected. So yeah.
Right. Harsha made very interesting points about the need to democratize data and also its availability. Ashita, we've had lovely talk before this session also. It would be great if you could share your thoughts on how data can really help enterprises, take that customer experience to the next level.
Definitely. I think just a small introduction. I am heading the engineering and product at Borderless product called Stockle. A lot of you are sitting here and I use a lot of your products. I do know. So, I will say how it has been helping data today. I was given an opportunity to I come from a background where I worked with an institution called Fidelity for around 14 years, right? And I was asked to rebuild Fidelity in 3 months and get going, right? With the operations there, with the market, and thankfully given to the conditions of pandemic, I don't think we are thankful. But for the business where I am currently, it was definitely a boom, right? We all know how the investments or the people started investing in last 2.5 years, right? This one area which just grew at the peak in these 2 years, and the operations had to grow threefold. We had threefold operations growth expected. The customer base was growing at a pace of 10x, and we had to scale up all the operations in like just 3 months, right? Which is when we started using MongoDB to be able to say, let's put all the data over here and let's not focus on, how to maintain and, figure out who will take care of the backups and everything. That was done. Similarly, all the operations, all the queries started going into the database and all the FAQs. Today, I was reading the article, right? Razorpay uses Slack. What is Slack? Just nothing but the database, right? So, you have entire thing built into the database, and if somebody is asking the question, you have the FAQ automatically built in. Nobody is doing the search. We have the Elasticsearch, like Harsha said, right? And in just seconds, you have the entire database available for a new. We had 30 people joining in, and we were working virtually. Imagine the world, we were working virtually, and the entire operations was trained virtually. How was it made happen? Just by making sure that the data is there, the FAQs are automatically present, and everybody is just able to search without any, lot of effort. So the data, the way they have helped, you can do quick search. You have the databases available now where you don't have to think of. 20 years back, there was only DB2, Oracle, building the indices. Oh, this index is not working for this. Let's build another index. Now you don't have those problems, right? Go to you have different databases for different things. You can have, he spoke about the lake, you have the snowflakes available. You just go, get ready, cloud is there, 3 months, just build it up, ramp up your team to be able to just do the search. No technicality required, with just 2 people in the engineering team, you are all set. And operations works fantastic, right? I mean, cloud is there to be able to give the call. You have the numbers fed in and you have the cloud calling enabled. You don't need any more, a phone, a desk. Imagine today in Stockholm, the entire operations is doing work from home. Were we able to think that 3 years back? I don't think so. None of us thought that the operations and the customer success can run from home. And they're doing fabulous job. Ladies are very happy. I should definitely bring in that point, because operations, the ladies were very upset with the night shifts, right? Thanks to the data and thanks to all the digitalization that has given an opportunity to ladies to be able to do the night shifts happily. They are very happy. They just want to do night shifts because they do their work in the morning and do like double shifts. So I'm really impressed with the way the data has given us the opportunities to be able to ramp up, have the high efficiency, have the resources who are very high in their spirits to work. Because operations, one division which was not at all happy working. Why? Because there was no incentive. There was nothing. It was a regular day-to-day work. Now they are able to learn. They are able to look at the data and see where is the graph falling. You want to analyze the data where they are not able to give the right knowledge to the people. What sort of queries are not getting answered correctly in the chatbot? You can do the analysis. You have the modern tools available. You don't have to build the analytics on those model tools every day. You just have to have, there are hundreds of tools available which will give you those analytics where you're going wrong, and you focus only on the issues. and that gives a very high efficiency. Today we are almost 80% automated in our queries, and I think it's all thanks to the data and the groups who are modernizing to be able to, create the databases and helping the organizations like us to stand without building a lot and concentrating on that, but just concentrating on the product where we want to be able to concentrate.
Amazing. A round of applause. We see data in action. Due to Ashita, it's really heartening to know how, these modern tools and technologies, particularly how data has been utilized to this fabulous end where the entire workforce is working remotely and working flawlessly. That in itself is a great achievement. And I think you made a number of very valid points on what they have actually been doing. For example, with respect to databases, with respect to automation. Very interesting points. Can we please go to the next panelist for his thoughts on this?
My name is Ankur. I'm the co-founder and chief product officer at Instamoji. We are an e-commerce platform provider for micro and small businesses.
Right.
I think one of the points that Ashita highlighted was about focusing on your core and not do things which are not absolutely necessary to do. I think that's the philosophy we try to inculcate especially when it comes to data, because while data is imperative for every organization, it's often not the most core part of your business. In case of cash free, it's payments. In case of Stockel, it's stock brokerage. Like that's their core part of business. For Instamojo, it's about providing an e-commerce builder for our small businesses. And I think that's where it's important to realize that you do not, especially in today's world, you do not need to invest a lot of your internal super valuable resources to build your own data engines or data powerhouses. And this was not true even less than a decade ago, where you actually had to hire a team of engineers and analysts and whatnot to basically maintain data which will allow you to gain a lot of insights, but will also cost you a ton of time and effort and like a lot of mental bandwidth as well. I think that has changed significantly, and there's the crux of the modern data platform, that it allows with minimal intervention allows the organization to focus on their core product, their core strength, while continue to utilize data in the best manner possible. And that needs to be acknowledged in every organization, and they should only invest their in-house resources in data until it is absolutely necessary to do that. I think we, being a very lean company, like it has become very crucial for us to not utilize our in-house resources, but rather use third-party tools and technologies, and also enable people on the data team to also set up the infrastructure, also set up the operations, do more end-to-end work rather than relying on some other teams. So I think the modern data platform is a lot about providing independence to a data scientist or a data analyst or somebody who is trying to get insights out of data, to become very independent, do work end-to-end, reduce dependency on other folks in the team, but rather use self-serve tools as much as possible, easy to set up tooling. And I think that sort of makes them more productive and also allows them to really focus on their main job, which is to get the insights out of data, to answer questions of other functions, and also to highlight inefficiencies, highlight new strategies that are coming out of as a result of these insights. I think that's the core job of a data team, and they should be trying to spend as much time on it as possible. I think gradually over a period of time, the new age data tools are making it possible. I think there's still some way to go. There are still like we are a few years away from making it really self-reliant, so that anybody with basic skills can also set up an entire data stack, but I'm pretty sure that we've reached there.
Excellent. So Ankur spoke about how modern data platforms have really become efficient, and they have also attributed an element of independence to organizations, which in itself is a remarkable thing. Moving on, my question to you is, how can data be really instrumental in creating efficiencies in the cloud, and also, as enterprises try to create new age applications?
Right. Hey, my name is Rahul. I am the co-founder and CTO at MyShub Life. We are a lending company and a NBFC. So we spoke about how data being the new oil, right? But my thought on that is that if you go back to pre-engine days, oil was useless, right? So the value of oil comes in only if you are able to efficiently translate the chemical energy to the mechanical energy, right? Which is the engine.
Excellent
So
point.
what we need to focus on is how are you going to translate the data that you have into actionable insights, right? And organizations are increasingly using this data, and it's inefficient to do all of this in your own on-prem. The last couple of offices we have rented, they have all had server rooms, and the first thing we did was to demolish that and make it into a breakout room, because all of our applications are on the cloud. Right. So doing things on the cloud, and the few panelists who spoke before me said how it is possible for a lean team to do and build things, and that's only possible because things are on the cloud. It would never be efficient if you are trying to run your own servers and do things like that, and regulation is sort of also helping in that space, right? So if you are a small company, then cloud is the way to go. And the other things that I wanted to highlight is that the data in the cloud gets used for a couple of things, right? One is improving cost efficiencies, where in the organization it is not just the data analysts and business analysts, but every single leader, team lead, is able to draw insights from the data. And I think we are going in that direction, but still a lot more needs to be done. Today, a team lead managing 5 customer support executives still has to come to a data analyst to understand some nuance of the data, right? So these are problems that we are working on, but these are helping create efficiencies, right? What sort of queries are common, and directly have chatbots to answer those queries. So these sort of insights, a team lead without the help of a data analyst is able to solve, right? Like this, there are so many other efficiency problems. The other way is, how do you build new products? So almost all the startups of late have been solving problems, which is basically access. Some service is already available, but it was not available in a sachet size. Whether you think of Uber, e-commerce, lending, for example, right? These are not new businesses. Logistics, lending has been there for decades, if not centuries. But the thing is, now it's available at a sachet size to the consumer. And that's only possible because real-time data is available everywhere, right? We, as a company, we analyze thousands of data points about an individual, sort of real-time in the cloud, and we are able to lending decisions and literally put money where our mouth is, right? We lend money out. And this was not possible with the banks, because larger banks, because they have a lot of legacy systems and they have to process things manually and all of that. There is a lot of manual involvement. So with things being in the cloud, we are able to do and bring these services in a small ticket size to our end consumers. So that's why I think data and technology residing on the cloud is creating best experience and products for the next generation.
Right. Excellent.
I'm Vishal. I run a company called VRise. I'm the founder of CEO. So we're a 3-year-old startup. So our focus is to build the largest financial services platform for the India 2, or the middle class people living in smaller cities. So we divide India into 3 parts. India 1 is your taxpayer, millennial, Gen Z folks, the 4 to 5 crore people that most of us in the startup ecosystem try to
Target.
focus on. Our thesis is to go 1 level below, but not 2 level below. So India 3 is your microfinance and below poverty line people. Very hard to make any viable business there very easily without subsidy from government. So we want to go solid middle class India, lower middle class India, small cities. Now the India 1 is where all your private sector banks and your fintechs, pretty much everybody is just crowded. The people living in larger cities, corporate employees, etc., engineers, corporate bankers, everybody primarily focuses there. Our thesis is to go one level below, which is the PSU market, the customer segment of Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank. Now, the problem in India is these PSU banks don't really do much beyond giving basic banking. They provide a bank account, but they don't lend, at least unsecured loans. They don't give credit cards. Like SBI has 50 crore bank account holders, but they have given only 1 crore credit cards. Right. So that's a big gap. Then insurance, they don't really, sell insurance to their customers. They don't do wealth management. So one part of our company is focused on building products using data science to create unique products that are meant for these customers. So we have more than 1 billion data points across the 3-year journey of our company. And using that, we are able to really understand the financial behavior of our customers and create unique products across lending, insurance, and savings for these people. The second thing that we do, which is very, very unique to us, is our distribution. So our customer segment is somebody you cannot really serve profitably using digital. So while our customers do have smartphones, they need help. So we have a LIC kind of a distribution model. But there is one where we have these freelancers, financially literate freelancers who are actually selling and guiding our customers to take the right choice. But all of these business models, the phygital business models, have one big problem, is that you need to have a big field operations of your own to manage these freelancers. So that is something using technology we have eliminated. So we have freelancers in 1,000 plus cities, 10,000 plus freelancers across India. And we are able to manage these freelancers across 1,000 plus cities with no feet on street or branches of our own. So using the tech that we have built and the data and the insights that we draw from the tech, we are able to build products that are meant for these customers, and we are able to serve them with the right distribution model. So for us, it's a very, very different world out there. Those customers are not like the Bangalore or Indiranagar or Koramangala. It's a different world out there, but they're not like poor people. They're the real aspirational India, right? This is people living, middle class people living in small cities. They have aspirations, right? And there's a huge gap across financial services. And companies like us are possible only because there's a new set of data available in last couple of years. So one of the biggest thing that has helped even our inception is GST. So GST, so one is obviously your Aadhaar and UPI is an obvious thing, right? Till couple of years ago, so we go after salaried people, but living in smaller cities, middle class people, but lower end of salary, like 12 to 20,000, 25,000, salary bracket in the smaller cities, not the metros. Now those customers typically, would be paid in cash, and they would spend in cash till couple of years ago. So as a fintech or anybody, you can't while they may have a bank account, those are just like dormant bank accounts. Even government was paying salaries in cash till couple of years ago, till this whole digitization, will happen. So GST led to formalization of payroll in a big way in India. So a lot of smaller companies started to pay their employees salary in bank accounts, and then the UPI caused data generation on the payment side. So on one side you have the salaries coming in, so the income. On one side, the other side, the expenses, you can also get data. So all of that plus other digitization that has happened in the last 4 or 5 years specifically, that has led to a lot of data, and that's where companies like us, we're able to use that data, understand, do risk management, create more and more products. So yeah, essentially companies like us even would not be possible 5 years ago.
Right, and it's extremely heartening to know that data has been instrumental in the coming of so many new age companies and startups, and who are really trying to do a lot of very cutting edge work and really going about it the digital way. And I think we were talking about this, how technology, particularly modern technology, it has given a leg up even to people who are newbies or new entrants, and actually leveled the playing field in their favor. which is great to know. Excellent example. Now can we go on to the next panelist? And I would want you to focus a little on, how can data really help in new age applications and cloud efficiencies and all of that.
Hey,
Starting with your introduction.
I am Manoj Baranwal. I get the engineering at RapidBox. It's a D2C fast fashion brand. So for us, the data is like knowing your customer, knowing your products. So we are like a fast fashion brand. So what we do is we try to launch new products every day and try to learn from the customer's behavior that which product is doing good, which product is not doing good. So it's like knowing your customer and the product at the same time. So we'll keep launching new fashion, understand the behavior, and it's all about the data. So you have to understand the data. For example, what kind of raw material which is used in the product, whether this is doing good or it is not doing good. So that is something that we want to establish in fashion. So we want to launch new fashion with our own brand. We have a raw material control, so we know what kind of raw materials we are using, and to know the customers are using the product, clicking on, buying it, understand the behavior of the product. So some products will do very good, automatically outliers will come out. Lot of insights will come. Which products will be really good, which products should not do good, which products should not be remanufactured. So lot of insight from the data will come. Coming back to on the customer side, we try to understand that what customers, whether we have to give sneaker as an option, we have to give some other product as an option, which kind of price range the customer belongs to, what kind of customer when it comes to like payment pays, whether we have to give a COD option, whether we have to give prepaid option, what kind of customer they will cancel the order, what kind of. So a lot of insight from the data, understand customer need, and accordingly give the product. That's the idea.
Excellent. So what challenges do you foresee, as enterprises are trying to make sense of this data in really trying to create cutting edge applications for today?
Hi, I'm Kirtish. I'm also from RapidBox. I come from data science background also. So what I have learned typically that when we start getting data, we end up getting a lot of data. Okay. And then it really becomes difficult that which data you should be using for what purpose, right? So earlier I was in Accenture for almost 5 years, and I was in data science team there. And when we were working for multiple clients, so we used to have the similar problem, because clients, once the data accessibility became very easy, clients ended up storing every kind of data. Okay, so whether it is customer journey or a purchase journey or any behavior, any footprint, they will try to capture. As a result, what happens that you have a lot of data and you don't know which data variables you should be referring to and which exact problem you want to solve, because all of a sudden you start thinking that okay, I can solve hundreds of problems, and then you have definitely scarcity of resources and manpower, and eventually what I felt multiple times there, that enterprises were finding it difficult to continue focusing on the real problems which had larger impact. Rather, what they eventually did, that they spent a lot of money and time on just gathering a lot of data and hiring resources and eventually not utilizing them at most level. So that's
a major challenge.
Yeah, that I found, and that was common across multiple clients. So I was primarily working for fintech, BFSI domain. So we had banking and insurance clients, and data has been useful across all the sectors, be it BFSI or retail, right? So they were really struggling, and then they reached out to us telling that, boss, we want to optimize on say credit card usage, and we want to improve retention and other things. And then they provided us thousands of variables, that okay, everything we want to do, we want to build on these thousands of variables, and you as a data scientist, you should be happy to consume, and you should be feeling very good that okay, I've got a lot of variables to use, right? And then all were diverse, and they all were throwing different information. Getting a meaningful insight from those variables itself was becoming difficult, because they were coming from variety of background. So that's what I feel is a challenge for enterprise who actually don't know how to consume the data. They are capturing the data, storing the data. Both of these things have become very easy, but their consumption is a challenge.
Very interesting. Consumption is a challenge. Going on to my friend Navneethan.
Awesome.
Your thoughts, Navneethan. What challenges do you foresee?
Very good evening, everyone. I'm Navneethan. Just I work as a CISO and then head of IT at Grow. GROWW. It's like, just if you want to grow continuously, that's what just we made it as a Grow. Awesome. It's a pleasure to meeting you, this everyone. It is an amazing topic, which is most of the organization from startup to enterprise, which need a lot of attention from end to end, right? And just a couple of key topic from the founders, maybe I can the pick up, right? It's like a buffet, like in terms of technology, it's maybe the cloud as well as the data, it's absolutely the buffet. Like what you like it, just you choose it and build this environment and then launch it, right? So maybe the same buffet, it's maybe for the 20 people. May not be, the same guy will pick up the same food or something, right? The same way, if you take this 101 unicorn in its last few years, what was built in India, it is absolutely the technology based. I mean, not even single the company we can see that they have in-house data center, in-house just applications and all the things. It's all brought up in terms of the cloud is the major stuff. As rightly you had mentioned in terms of the plugging the packet as well as in terms of ramping up the specific services play very significant role. So that's a way just of course in fact a Grow and then of course the previous organization PayU. It's all built in the the bigger way. And coming to the maybe from the fintech standpoint, specifically the data, just whatever things we had it. Statistically, if we go just 2 years back, I mean, in terms of conception of the payment in e-commerce or the retail, whatever it is happening, it's purely on the the debit card is the top one, then it's a credit card, then it is a banking. That's what it is comes. Now, if you see the UPI is a person, it has taken over all the things. You guys all take rest. I mean, how many of you really use our credit card and debit card?
Yeah.
We never,
Right?
Bypassed. We forgot all the wallet at home. I mean, hardly I carry now.
True.
So if you take 3 years back, it's all the time we carry our wallet. Now it is not at all. Just mobile is there, it's more than enough. As well as now this NPC has made significant this growth in terms of they are adding credit card also. Then it is gone. I mean, Visa and then MasterCard, the network, it's only for the switching. It may not be on your physical card in terms of goes via POS machine. In fact, the Pine Labs and all the folks, they also started with in terms of tapping your mobile. May not require the physical your card and all things. So that's why it's like all the things. It's absolutely possible from the the cloud as well as the data what it brings. Just I'm touching a little bit on the security because moreover I can say that Ron brought up in the security side. From the hacker standpoint, it is very easy. See, if you take just maybe 10 to 15 years back, what are the data just we handle? It's like a banking, right? If you take it from the bank, if I come out, it's like I'm taking a 10 lakhs. I'm coming to the bank. There's a robbery folks outside, right? It's waiting for that, like when I can snatch it. So it is a small pie. After that, it comes like day one. There is a bigger statistics. I mean, it's a month of salary. It's all the people withdraw the money and then keep it in their wallet. That's a lot of big pocket and then robbery and then day one of salary. It's a big statistics. Now, if you see that, if you from the hacker standpoint, from APT standpoint, it may not require to do the hunting of individual packets. Since it's all data lake and then all the database, it is a one place. It's maybe the data analytics or whatever it is. From the hacker standpoint, it's very easy, right? I may not require to roam around all the things. Where the data analytics team sits, that is what is my key portfolio. See, most of the things, what's happening is as rightly the gentleman told, it is like oil. But just we want to see that whether it's a crude oil, refined oil, like where it is, right? Because a direct oil may not be used. That's what, of course, data analytics team does the work and then give the filtrations, like what's the decisions, what strategy you want to take it up. So that standpoint, from the hacker standpoint, it is very easy. I mean, in terms of, I believe you would have aware, like close to 440 million LinkedIn accounts, close to 530 million Facebook accounts. It's like not one or two. Such a bigger giant in terms of multi-million, multi-TB of data that has been leaked out. They're not gone just individually. Just talk it as in terms of database, talk it in terms of data analytics team, because they have all the statistics that's all kept ready. just go pick up and then use it in the bigger way. I believe you are aware, right? Today, Ministry of Commerce, it's a close to 1.9 million company data has been leaked out. Ministry of Commerce, it's like who are all registered in MIC. Of course, couple of my known friends, so the company also listed over there. It has all this, the information. So that's why it is the bigger target. I mean, the data plays significant role. It makes a meaningful step, but at the same time, from the hacker standpoint, it's very easy to catch hold and then take it forward. Just one last point, maybe I should have mentioned. Of course, my wife also one of the beneficiary, I can say, in terms of work from home, this all the technology, because we are about to leave the job. Even though they have a potential, and so most of the NASCAM and the Ministry of IT also just this I mentioned. Really, we have to encourage in terms of women empowerment, and then how the technology is going to help and how you are going to take it forward. So really glad to see you and valuable inputs on that. Over to you, Mukul.
Wonderful. Underlying theme, remote work has been a boon for women.
For all.
For all.
For all.
In fact, that is, there is a very strong argument that the great resignation has been triggered by employees who don't want to go back to physical offices. So it's amazing, but really, Navneethan, you have brought up a very important aspect about data, and which is about security. Now, going on to, we will discuss about it in greater detail later. Shriram, your views on this. What challenges do you foresee as far as leveraging of data is concerned?
Sure. First, a brief introduction about me. I am Sriram. I head the data and AI practice at Srijan Technologies. We are an IT services company focused on customer experience, engineering, and data and AI. Right. So yeah, in terms of challenges, predominantly it's around one of the biggest challenges that we face is the data are in silos, right? In various departments. The sales departments have their own data. The research department may have their own data. Right, the marketing department have their own data, and making sense of all these data kind of in a contextual manner and giving personalized experiences is a big challenge, right? That's where data platforms have really evolved a lot over the years, right? And that also goes back to right. So are we? One is, are you capturing the right data, right? Keeping everything in mind, right? So when you talk about new age applications and customer experiences, in the whole journey, you are capturing maybe, right? But are you capturing in the context of how we want to improve the customer experience, right? Be it in the acquisition stage, be it in the customer support stage, and so on. So the biggest challenges are the data in silos, and how do you bring them together? How do you make sense of them together? Right, that is the biggest challenge.
Right. Excellent point by Shriram, and one that was brought into focus by Ram also, where he spoke about how the siloed nature of the existence of data is a major bottleneck. At this point, I would really want to go to Sandeep for his thoughts. Sandeep, you have already heard the technology leaders here.
I can just say ditto.
I'm hoping you have sufficient ammunition.
Right. Yeah. So hi everyone. Glad to be in a room and meet people and not see each other on a computer. My name is Sandeep Kashyap. I'm a part of Google Cloud. I work with emerging startups across the country. A very exciting role because you get to see so much innovation across the board. And just because we're talking so much about data, I think if you just do an analysis of everything that people have spoken here, in terms of security and scale and transactions and all that, a very clear pattern comes out about fintechs. And interestingly, all fintechs are sort of sitting together here, right? That's a cohort in the cohort in that sense, right? And of course, you have D2C and travel, and probably that's representative of how the market is today as well, right? In terms of the startups growing. I think I agree with multiple points, and I think as Google, we're in a unique position of having to interact with customers across multiple industries, seeing different challenges, different life cycle stages of their startup, right? And how they look at data. So I think a couple of key things that we're seeing as trends which a lot of you would definitely agree. One, I think, is irrespective of what life cycle you are in, I think the importance of data to start off with, even when you're very early, becomes very important. And somebody was saying that you have so much data that you don't know what to analyze, and that is becoming a reality, right? So the general thumb rule today is you don't know what use cases are going to open up 2 years, 3 years down the lane. And he was talking about how GST and UPI opened up a whole new sector, right? And therefore you see that storing data becomes extremely important. And this is very important in terms of unlocking new business potential and things like that. And as Google, it's very important for us to understand that while customers are storing a lot of data which is getting generated, you need to do that at efficient cost metrics as well, right? Because what is hot data, what is cold data, how much you want to analyze something which is historic transaction data versus what is real time becomes extremely important. The other important thing, and I think you sort of alluded to that, was about data democracy, right? You have multiple different personas within the organization, and the way like a data scientist looks at data versus how a product manager is running a campaign looking at data versus somebody who's running DevOps and needs to do engineering on some of the data platforms is extremely different, right? And I think the way we are building products is to ensure that across the personas within an organization, we have different technologies and products which sort of lend themselves to how people can use technology, right? If you're, let's say, a product manager and you don't want to, write real hardcore SQL codes and want to look at, only visualization and dashboarding, and there are technologies which sort of help that. Versus if you're a data scientist and want to bring in your own algorithms and you want GPU machines where you can run a lot of these algorithms and so on and so forth, we really give that flexibility for people to go ahead and sort of do that. The other interesting data point that we're seeing, and I think you mentioned, while people went online, where there were a lot of users who came onto the platform, we're also seeing a lot of new use cases for existing set of users as well, right? And that is really sort of exploding the amount of data which is available on different platforms. And that in itself leads to some interesting conversations, because now you have data coming from multiple sources. So you have your existing transaction data which is there. You have data which is coming real time, and if you're in the lending business and let's say you want to do underwriting and you want to give out loans in 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and a lot of people are trying to do that, right? You have to take hard real time decisions. Whereas you're having a lot of social data which is coming in, which leads to a lot of other challenges in terms of, you have data which is coming from multiple sources, but it's not in a standard format, right? And if you have to, at the end of the day, land everything, let's say in a Parquet format and store it, it takes a lot of heavy lifting to clean that data, and that's an exercise in itself. And we are finding that customers have a lot of data, but to really get it to a stage to make it usable, this is a very massive activity and engagement, and we are working very closely with customers to sort of do that. And what we're also seeing is the AI part of all the discussions, right? Almost everybody wants to say that I'm an AI-enabled platform, and you call yourself customer.com to customer.ai. Things don't change so quickly. But a stepping stone to a lot of those AI conversations, we find that if you've not collected data over a period of time and really cleaned that data, then it becomes extremely difficult for you to go down that path. True. So we sort of, helping customers irrespective of where they are in that life cycle. So for people who have been, very methodical and solved this, of course, we offer platforms where you can use GPUs and a lot of technology like TensorFlow that Google has built to sort of run your own platforms. But we're also trying to make it very easy for people who are just end users, right, and want to use some of these services, be it, text to speech and speech to text and translation services, image recognition and video recognition and things like that. So they are available as API services that people are able to consume. And the last point definitely is, the whole concept around security. Given that there are a lot of areas, especially fintech, given so much of regulation is there, it becomes very important for you to look at who has access to this data. What are you doing with this data? How are you storing data at rest, and how is data in motion? And be compliant to a lot of these guidelines, be it SEBI, RBI, and even globally. Let's say you're sitting here, launch something in Europe, you certainly need to be GDPR compliant, right?
True.
So data in itself brings in a lot of business challenges that way from a security standpoint. And as your data needs grow, that becomes more complicated. So I think it is quite interesting to look at multiple startups and where they are in this life cycle. And we keep seeing more and more use cases opening up.
So no matter where you are, there is still a panacea for all that. Aditya, your thoughts on this? You have heard of the various challenges, silos, too much of data, all of that.
Mukbil, I'm going to go into a storytelling mode.
Oh.
Right. And this story is of a very traditional organization. Today, we all understand the importance of data. The story is about, and the story came out, I heard Ram and the gentleman talk about data silo. And I also heard Ashutosh mention the name Asian Paints. Right. So the story is about Asian Paints. And this story is about data and how they consume data and built evidence for all of us that data can do wonders, right? So in 70s, Mr. Choksey got the first supercomputer in India to analyze data, right? And what he was trying to analyze is demand prediction, okay? So they built their whole system around this. I'll not go into the long part of it. The short version of it is today, Asian Paints delivers to thousands of pin codes with 96% accuracy, what they need 3 times in a day, without the vendor or the distributor asking or placing an order, right? So that's the power of data. What it got for them, they removed the middleman, the top line grew, the bottom line grew, the system became more efficient, right? So I think when I look at this story, which has been now running for 5-6 decades, and now we are talking about the real power of data and how we want to leverage it, doing it right and in a very structured format and choosing the right technologies for your data platform can do wonders for us over the years, right? And then comes the point of the flexibility, the diversity, and all those things, right? For example, I was really excited to hear about India 2.0, and I was just talking to Sandy about an organization which is using GCP and Mongo to reinvent India 2.0 for the SMBs who run their accounting business, right? How they run their accounting business. So my bill book using the 2 technologies is really powering the SMBs or the tier 2 merchants in India to do that, right? While you do, and while I shared these stories, what happens if you have got the right data platform, right? If you have chosen the right data platform, you're gonna be way ahead of competition, right? You're gonna create new business models. You're gonna create new revenue streams. And first and the last bit of it, you're gonna reduce risk across spectrum, right? It might not be just pertinent to the analytics part of it or the sales part of it, right? Or your revenue part of it. Now you are so flexible because you have done the right decisions to ensure that your data platform is adaptive, is modern, and is built for scale for coming years. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So it has been a wonderfully interactive session, a great discussion till now. Any other points or any comments or any queries that you may have, please feel free to direct it. We are at the end of this session and you can speak your minds. Any challenges, any particular challenges that you think got missed out or?
We are into retail right now, right? And would like to hear your thoughts, so that we can also be selective and then others like us can also take a conscious call that, okay, which data platform is good for, apt for what kind of businesses and what kind of needs it suits for.
Sure. I heard somebody that one size is not going to fit all, and it's going to be very personalized to the segment you are catering to, the organizations you are catering to, or the end customers you are catering to, right? In your case, in a D2C brand, it's going to be very different from how a fintech is going to look at it, right? What is pertinent for you as an organization is that when you're building your architecture, are you choosing those right technologies to do the right things? Are you using, say, for example, Elastic to do the heavy lifting from a database perspective, or you're using it from a search perspective, or you pick up things and then move to a Redshift to do different things, right? Or do you use a relational database to run your transactions and then move everything through an ETL to a unstructured data like Mongo to do your analytics, right? I think when you put these pieces together, the answer would not be for what you're doing today, right? So you take the data, both of the product and the fashion, and then analyze it. So it's very important that while you look at your product roadmap and you look at the future of your organization and how it's going to solve the problem, picking up these elements of technologies, getting them together in a very cohesive fashion, which is very pertinent to your organization, will make your customized data platform, right? And I was talking to a lot of CXOs yesterday, right? And one gentleman mentioned the term do and learn and do, right? So you would have to do those iterations to, figure out that, okay, we have cracked the code. And when you do it, you would understand that, oh, there's a next set of growth that is coming in, and we need to now rethink the whole thing. So I think it's not a one-time solution. It's a very iterative one. So you need to plan for yourself when you're deciding your product roadmap, that for how long is my data platform, which is a combination of different technologies coming together for you, is going to sustain, is going to be resilient, and can adapt to the changing needs.
Can I ask a related question?
Yeah, please.
So when it comes to, say, today we happen to make a call, or it's not just for us, it's like for all of us, right? So we decide on that, okay, this is the technology platform that we'll be using. And say 4 years, 5 years down the line, we start believing the challenges, or we start feeling the challenges of that data platform, and then we choose that, okay, now it's the time to go to another platform. How difficult it is at the moment, or how is the portability right now, and how the migration is facilitated by the existing technologies? So is it going to be really complex, or it's like
I'll just give my 2 cents on it, right? And I'll share what I've heard. Now, there are certain pieces of technologies which are fairly not complex to replace and move on, right? I'm not saying easy, they are not complex. But then there are certain pieces of technology which would require a lot of lift and shift, right? You might have to sunset a part of the application to, and write something from scratch. Are there migration tools? Yeah, for sure there are, right? But you also have to understand that they are very generic in nature. Do they suit your things or not is probably that the best decision you'll have to make. And I'll give you a couple of examples, right? I work with a lot of, those digital native startups who, when started their business, they started just dumping data, and I work only with the Mongo organizations in just Mongo, right? What it has done after 6 years to one of the most budding and promising fintechs of India is one monolith with tens of TBs of data, right? You're obviously gonna do hit performance snags, right? As your data is growing. Now, could they think of this architecture 6 years ago? No, they could not. But now, are they changing it? Yes, they are changing it, and there are tools to help them do this, right? But for example, if you want to now break ETLs within your data platform, there are very, very smart ways of doing it, okay? There are also data platforms which are coming with the solutions which are like one-stop shop. For example, GCP, right? They've got a lot of things, you don't need to go here and there, and that's your one-stop shops for doing everything. For example, Mongo. 5 years ago, we were just a database company, right? Today, we have got a search solution. We have got an online archival solution. We have got a data lake solution. We have got a mobile database, right? It's also important that that data platform that you have chosen will have to evolve, right? Because otherwise, those data platforms would be thrown out of the market. So while you choose your data platforms, you have to also ensure that does your vision and the data platform that you're choosing, or the technologies that you're choosing for you to come together and make that data platform, are aligned in some fashion or not. And one way of looking at it is that, have they done it in the past, right? Have they solved this problem in the past? Yeah.
But in this case, moreover, in this case, moreover, just you may have a case studies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from the sector wise, like as I rightly mentioned, just one size might not fit for all. But however, if you take a fintech, maybe if I'm the payment gateway, right? This payment gateway, maybe it's the same for the most of the the other gateway also, right?
Yeah.
So that standpoint, just you may throw a little bit on the case studies, like on the fintech, on the insurance sectors, or in the maybe in terms of analytics, or maybe in terms of the payment gateway, or in terms of lending. So those things like how it's add values. So I think that's what so your aspects also.
And we can definitely help you offline on how we are solving for one of the largest fashion startup brands in India, and how we are enabling them with our data platform, right?
Because with that, just we can correlate easily. Right?
Yes.
I mean, for our business, how we can align, like what are the solutions just already you have provided. That will be the great value.
Absolutely.
Just maybe we can have it down the line.
Yeah.
That is why, just to add on to what Aditya mentioned in response to what you were asking, right? So typically when you choose a platform, you look at whether you want to go the general route or the specialized route, right? Specialized route where you have domain specific things you want to accomplish, right? Many times you look at specialized route, if you are very clear that yes, I will make that investment, I want that solution now. You go the general route if you want the current teams to kind of handle it in future, support the same set of databases in future, right? So typically it's like a Gartner kind of a quadrant, right? You look at a technology, whether it's going to be general or specialized. You look at whether you want the database to cater to horizontal use cases or vertical specific use cases, and that will help you determine which technology and which platform you want to go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I also think some of these decisions are really based on, what were the pressing factors at that point while making a decision, right? So probably at that point you wanted to go to market quickly, and that was your end goal. And I firmly believe that any analytics or ML use cases that you should have a business need and then get into the technology part. And we see a lot of times people go other way around, right?
Yeah.
So whatever that need was, and you started probably, you wanted to give some customer report very quickly out there, and you needed the best solution out, whatever is available, right? And therefore, like after 4 years, 5 years, your technology has changed, your scale has changed, your customer base has changed, maybe your product has also changed, right? So many pivots happening. But what I fundamentally feel is, whenever you make the decision, apart from the business factors, if you generally follow some best practices from a design philosophy, especially when it comes to data, right, which talks about are you not hard coding something and making things loosely coupled, right? Do you have platforms which are going to scale with your business, right, and you're not going to hit some vertical limits at some point in time, right? Are you going with open technology which is going to have continuous development, or you're sort of locking yourself to a proprietary platform and things like that? I think these are some broad design technologies or design decisions that you have to take, irrespective of how small or big or what the need is, right? I think if you follow some of those things, with business changes, you potentially might have to change the platform, but that transition is going to be much easier if you follow these principles.
Wonderful. Any other inputs, comments, questions, queries that comes to your mind? Feel free.
One challenge that I would like to highlight related to data is the challenge of metadata. We talked about making organizations self-serve, allowing different functions to explore data on their own and get insights. I think a big hurdle in doing that is knowing what data is lying in what format and where. Over time, like you can break the silos and bring all your data into one place, accessible as well. But there is a huge learning curve to explain to somebody your schemas, how the data is lying here, and a combination of different tables, and it's massive. And I think what is required today is to provide easy access to metadata and the ability to control that metadata. I think a lot of especially engineering folks hate documentation. I mean, nobody wants to write comments or document anything. So at the end of it, what remains is a huge pile of data, well structured, but only a handful of people who have been part of the journey are really able to understand it. And that's where the bottlenecks become in, and that's where it becomes tough to even use the fanciest of the tools, because you don't know what to look for where. I think that challenge is still getting solved. There are a few companies who are working on this, but I think if cloud has to really if it has to really make people self-serve in order to have very little learning curve, very little onboarding, and very quickly able to search and figure out the answers, or at least the hints to their questions, I think that is going to be imperative to make this transformation and really harness the power of modern data?
See, moreover, in addition to the good points, no, if you see this, most of them, I mean, specifically on the cloud stuff, whatever it is that's happening, it's moreover, it's like a new toy. I mean, on the cloud, if you see, as rightly just you had mentioned, 3 years before, what are the component you had, or maybe just what are the business you started 3 years before, it's maybe the database company, but now it is absolutely different, right? So that's why it's a new things, it's a keep coming over there. It's not only in terms of you are horizontally growing, but there is a many component, the same way there's many component, right? Just identifying problem statement, what's exact my problem statement, and then who is addressing, and then what is the value addition just I'm having. Identifying that itself, it is a bigger challenge. See, that it's not just selling the product, right? It's giving the solution. Like, what is my problem statement? What is the value addition which it's going to add it as a bigger? I mean, most of the startups, specifically on the just, I mean, who are all, I mean, not just reach the unicorn, just who are all this early stage of startup, they are struggling with that, right? You have all the components, just what component needs to be picked up where also it's a little bit challenge. That's what I was highlighting. If you have this use case creations and all the things, it's easy to have it, right? Like it's already you have it. Yes, this is what I was looking. So easy to plug in and then take it forward in the the positive way. So picking up the right solutions for their own problem is bigger stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think we have had a lovely discussion, and we are already on top of the hour. In the interest of time, we would want to call it a wrap now. Thank you everyone for making it so interactive and informative.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.